What's going on, everybody? Today we have a money making guide for Runescape 3. Now, this method is debatably the fastest money in Runescape. In my fastest money in Runescape guide where I covered frost dragons, which are faster just because they're guaranteed, I didn't include this because, like I said, I wanted to have methods that were guaranteed and not methods that were luck based or based on external factors that you don't have control over, such as a high risk of death or something like that. But in this method, I do tend to average about 4 mil per hour. Some hours you can make more, some less, obviously, but for the most part, it's really decent money. I'd recommend bringing a unicorn if you have one, and having 92 prayer for soul split, in addition to a requirement of 81 slayer to kill these monsters. Once you have these requirements, it's also really recommended to be high range and defense, probably 90 plus in both. Gear doesn't make a whole lot of difference, though. I just bring this gear, some, welfare type setup. You can bring, obviously, whatever you want, but Armadillo is probably recommended if you're lower defense, lower range, but it's not really required. Penance and Vampirism Mars are both very helpful. Ring of Wealth will help you a very good amount, so I definitely recommend bringing that. I like bringing a Crystal Bow because it has very high damage. It's got about 1300 damage, and a Zarite Bow is only about 1450 damage, so this is almost as good as a Zarite Bow, but it's much cheaper because it only costs about 200k to repair once you've got it to its full capabilities. Although it does have much lower accuracy than the Zarite Bow, accuracy doesn't make a whole lot of difference here because I'm really high range, so I'm probably going to be hitting anyway, so all I really am worrying about is damage. A hand cannon is also very good to bring if you're low range, because what it'll do is it'll give you a huge accuracy boost, as much as a Zarite Bow, but it'll also deal less damage. But it is worth it if you're low range, probably 70 to 80. Anything above that, it's definitely recommended to bring a Crystal Bow or Royal Crossbow. This is my ability bar setup. Pretty much just copy this. I mean, it's too complicated. It's really just quite simple. Revolution can be used here fairly adequately. I bring prayer potions for soul split, like I said. Magic notepaper, because even though the majority of our money is going to be coming from keys, it does drop a decent amount of runite limbs, enough so that it's definitely worth doing this, or bringing high alks. But I already had the magic notepaper, so there's no sense selling it and buying runes to alk. So just use your Ring of Dueling and teleport to mobilizing armies. From there, just head slightly northeast. I'm not going to run the whole way because that's kind of a waste of your guys' time. But once you run slightly northeast, you'll come across this. Basically, just go down here. It's the Ascension Dungeon, and we're going to be carrying Rorai, which is the plural of Auroras. I don't know why Jagex can't just name these simple, but this is what we're killing. This spot can support 2 people. You could maybe do 3 people here, but I wouldn't recommend it. As you can see, I'm hitting very high with range. I've tried doing melee here just to test it because I tend to be more confident in my melee skills than my range skills. But I've noticed that I just do very, very poorly with melee. For some reason, you cannot hit above a few hundred damage with melee no matter what weapons you're using. And so it's really not recommended to use. As you can see, it's kind of recommended if you already have someone here, because what you can do is you can attack the ones that they're not attacking and they'll pile on you. Another method here is to use Chinchampas, because you'll have more than one on you. Again, whatever you want to do, but it's usually recommended that people don't like being the tank, is essentially what it is. I'll hop for this guy. And one more thing, these are going to drop, like I said, the majority of your money does come from the keys, but what you want to keep in sorry about that. What you want to keep in mind is the fact that even though you're making money from keys, picking up runite limbs and seeds can really add up, because they do drop a decent amount of them. Adamant longswords, I just noticed that it's a really rare drop, so it's not something worth picking up. They do drop these Ascension fragments and Ascension shards. The fragments are untradeable till you make them into bolts, or the shards can be crafted. The price of one Ascension shard right now is 512 GP. If you craft it into Ascension bolts at level 90 fletching, you'll get 10 of these, but it's actually not worth doing right now, although sometimes it can be worth doing. It's really not recommended to do that. Even though they are stackable, each drop only drops once, so I wouldn't recommend picking up the Ascension shards. Like I said, you always can if you're looking for some extra money. That'll pay for your supplies for sure on a trip. One trip of supplies, like of this method that I do, tends to only cost me about 125, maybe 150k. Not too bad. As you can see, there's 2 other people here. This method really cannot support more than 2 people, but I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. Order journal pages, they do drop these rather often. I pick them up just because It's a trimmed comp cape requirement. I believe it's either trimmed or regular comp cape. Either way, if I play long enough, once I get comp cape and max cape and all that, I'm going to want to have it, so you may as well pick them up. Although I believe it only goes up to, what did it say, 25 or something like that. So once you get all those, there's really not a whole lot to deal with. Maple logs, it does drop a decent amount of, but maple logs are really cheap, not worth picking up. If you're interested, what I would do if I was you, pick up an item. If you notice that it's dropping a lot, then you can start picking them up, but it's kind of misleading. Like, for example, the mushroom potatoes, they drop those a lot in increments of 100. Actually, there it is, potato with butter. Sometimes they drop 1, sometimes they drop noted of 100. If they drop 1, pick it up and eat it. But when they drop noted increments of 100, do not pick those up because it's only a couple hundred GP for each one. And even though it seems like you're really doing a lot, it's really not worth picking up, in my opinion. That's about all for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And please remember to subscribe and tap that like button. And I'll see you guys in another video. Peace. One last thing I thought I'd include, everyone. So this is an hour into my inventory. Actually, after about 15 minutes, I dismissed my unicorn. Reason being is just because it was kind of waste, like it was getting in the way, and I wasn't sure because some of the keystones have gone down and some have gone up, even though it's still the same amount of money as it was before. Some of them don't light up anymore when you drop them, so I didn't want to risk losing one. So what I ended up doing was I ended up just dismissing my unicorn and only using Soul Split. And I'd praise Soul Split probably about 35 to maybe 50% of the time. I don't know where I'm getting that information from, but somewhere about that. And this is about an hour of them. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of Runite limbs. I didn't get as many keystones as I usually do, and I got this because I misclicked on one of the big guys and I actually attacked him. Do not attack them. They're not worth attacking unless you're in a group. But anyway, this is what I got. And then the keystones, I got lucky. I actually got the 2 highest valued keystones. But then on the other hand, I also got unlucky because usually I get 4 or 5 keystones in an hour. This time I only got a couple. But as it turns out, I still got decent money, about 2 mil in this hour. You can get more though. And then I got probably 6, either 5 or 6 journal pages. But once I fill this up, I won't have to worry about those anymore. Again, just filling it up because of comp cape requirement. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.